What is the definition of common sense?
Wow, I knew it was gonna be like crazy. Free. Oh shit.
Definition of I would say probably just knowing what to do, when to do it, in the right place at the right time.
Is common sense common?
No.
Good question, actually. Common sense. I think just normal logic.
Things that are known by most people. It may be an idea. It might be a social norm. It might be things that you gain through life experience as an adult.
Like if you know right from wrong, kind of.
Is common sense common?
It should be, but it's not.
If not, why do we still call it common sense?
That's a good question. Well, what else would we call it? What would be another word for common sense?
Wisdom?
Wisdom, knowledge, but we call it that either way, both ways.
Do you believe that feelings are more important than facts?
I do not. Feelings are real and they should be acknowledged, but they shouldn't be disregarded when there are facts presented.
Do you believe that feelings are more important than facts?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
You could be upset by a fact, but that doesn't mean that the fact's wrong.
Exactly.
So I think facts matter over feelings.
Feelings are validated, but they're not like overruled by facts.
So facts, more facts, yeah.
No.
Yeah, no,
I
we agree.
Facts.
How do you know the difference between what you feel and what you know?
These are
Well,
hard.
because you know stuff that's factual, and you feel stuff that's obviously not factual. Facts are just made up of people's words, and words are made up by humans, and everything's fake.
How can you tell the difference between what you feel and what you know?
Following your gut.
How can you tell the difference between what you feel and what you know?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. I would say that if you can't directly state it without saying I think or I believe, then that's more of a feeling.
Feelings are like waves. They come and go, and they're not always the exact same. Like I can feel one way in one moment because I smelled something that's nostalgic, and I can feel another way in a different moment. But what I know is like substantial, it's objective, it's factual, it's data, you know?
What does it mean to make generalizations?
To assume about a group of people, a group of places, one thing is true about all of them.
How do you define or even describe something without generalizing?
I would say you have to have more facts, more information about it, and be able to specifically name. That's a very hard question. Generalize. You're going to put that in there and be like, this woman.
Don't dogs typically bark?
My dog does. Yes.
Aren't NBA players generally tall?
Yes.
Why is it so hard for people to identify patterns in the world?
Because there's so much diversity.
Every rule has an exception. Once might be a fluke. Twice might be a coincidence. 3 times or more might be a pattern. So if there is one single exception, for example, no, I personally believe, in my opinion, that does not disprove the rule.
It depends, because with those patterns, there's feelings involved. So emotions and facts are kind of operate in 2 different spectrums, and sometimes they do cross, but you can say facts that go against what somebody believes and they have a hard time processing.
Are feelings more important than facts?
Ooh, I'm a middleman again. Yeah, you led me to that one, but I believe a good middle ground is feelings and facts, and be able to control your own feelings and your own emotions based on facts, but everyone's different.
NBA players are often tall. Dogs usually bark. I get that. So generalization is helpful in that, and it's something that people generally know. But at the same time, there are exceptions to these rules. The exception, every rule has an exception. That's something.
Well, let me ask you this. At what point does a generalization become a stereotype?
At what point does a generalization become a stereotype? When that generalization has negative connotations and that generalization no longer matches the majority. That is what I would say.
So is it okay to make generalizations if it has a positive connotation?
Now that's a gray area. It's a gray area if it's okay to make generalizations if they have positive connotations. Here's the thing. When you make generalizations, this may sound like it's ducking the question, But if you're going to make generalizations, at least acknowledge the possibility that you might be wrong.
Some people use stereotypes out of ignorance, and I guess at the point where they're serious and believe. I can say white men can't play basketball, and all black men have big feet. But if I'm just joking, it's a joke. But if I really believe in that truly in my heart, then that's ridiculous. That's ignorant.
Aren't jokes funny because they point out uncomfortable truths?
Absolutely. I had a biology teacher once who used to say that we laugh at jokes because we're uncomfortable.
Women will often say things like, all men cheat or men only want one thing. Are women more likely to accept negative generalizations about men than they are about women?
Yes, that's very true.
Yes, because there's so many negative experiences about men that it just makes it seem like every man cheats.
Well, what if a man said that all women are gold diggers?
You got me there.
Just like men are more willing to accept negative generalizations about women than they are about men. The thing is, there's another old saying, I got a million of these. Everybody is the hero of their own story. Everyone is the good guy of their own story. Whether factual or not, you do want to believe that you are the bad guy. Us versus them. Them are not us, so them must be in the wrong, for lack of better words. So a lot of it runs into confirmation bias as well. You want to believe that the side you're on is right. So you will, it's human nature in many ways. A lot of people look for things to prove, if even to themselves, that the side they're on is, for lack of better words, the winning side.
Why is it when it comes to calling out female behavior, it depends on the woman?
Because we don't take it very well.
Why is it labeled sexist to make generalizations about women but not men?
I guess that's just how it's been going on for decades.
Isn't saying that masculinity is toxic generalizing about men?
Yes.
Why is it when giving a compliment it's okay to generalize, but when giving a criticism it depends on the person?
Because criticism can be positive or negative.
Why is it labeled sexist to make generalizations about women but not men?
I feel like it'd be fair to label them both. I don't think there's really an exception to be sexist if it's men or just a woman.
Isn't saying that masculinity is toxic generalizing about men?
You're right. Yeah, that would be. Toxic masculinity would be a label that generalizes men, because masculine, you attribute that to the male gender. If there are just genders nowadays, who knows, right?
Why do people often ask about somebody's zodiac sign when meeting a potential love interest?
I think because some people like to generalize being born is how you act.
Isn't that generalizing?
Absolutely.
Do you think it gives false expectations?
Yes.
Are women more likely to believe in things like astrology and crystals than men are, and if so, why?
I have met more women that do that, but once again, we're trying not to generalize here, but I have met more women who believe in that kind of thing, so.
Is that not generalizing to talk about zodiac signs?
It is. Absolutely, yes.
Do you think it gives false expectations?
Yes.
Are women more likely to believe in things like astrology and crystals than men are, and if so, why?
Yes. Because they're more open-minded, I would say. Like, they don't believe, like, men usually don't believe in bullshit. They want the facts. I know that now I'm generalizing, right? But it's true.
Is that not generalizing?
Oh, 100% it is. 100%. How can you say that some person won't be compatible with me just because they were born on a certain day when certain constellations were in the sky? 0 sense. Makes 0 sense. Once again, lack of logic, lack of accountability. It's ridiculous.
Do you believe that it's okay to generalize about men and women?
Definitely not.
Is generalizing always wrong?
Yes.
Why are there countless best-selling books like Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus if generalizing is always wrong?
Because people like that kind of stuff. They like to just believe that what they think is true and everybody else believes it.
Why are there several best-selling books like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus if generalizing is wrong? Because life is complicated. The truth is complicated.
My channel is complicated.
Your channel is complicated. Listen, I always say, I can do complicated just fine. It's the easy stuff I have trouble with. The thing is, life is complicated. The truth is complicated. Life is very rarely black and white. Black and white is simple, but reality is often more in shades of gray. So people often want to seek black and white answers to more easily explain and describe things that often may just be beyond man's realm of understanding.
Women will often say things like, all men cheat or men only want one thing. Are women more likely to accept negative generalizations about men than they are about women?
I think yes, because I have heard that phrase many times before. So I think that generalization of the other sex is very common.
So why is it labeled sexist to make generalizations about women but not men?
Oh, it should be sexist all around the board.
Isn't saying that masculinity is toxic generalizing about men?
Absolutely.
That's one of the statements that I hate so much. Like, it's such a generalization on men. It's like, if you say women are toxic, there's something wrong with that. But if you say men are toxic, it's like, oh yeah, girl, like my ex was blah, 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 blah. It's so wrong because men are not. There are so many good men in this world, and to say that men are toxic is just, to say a whole demographic, a whole population is toxic, it's not logical in any sense whatsoever.
What is the definition of anecdotal?
What is the definition of anecdotal evidence? Evidence you have gotten by observing.
Is it a valid argument to say, I'm the exception, or not all of something is true when being challenged on a social trend?
Yes, I would say that that's a common phrase to say, but I don't know that necessarily like, oh, I'm the exception. Well, a lot of people are the exception.
Does the exception disprove the rule?
Yes, absolutely. It disproves the generalization.
Well, just because there are some women who will date a short guy, does that mean that most women don't have a preference for height?
No.
So wouldn't that mean that the exception doesn't disprove the rule?
These are very thought-provoking questions. I think that, yes, now that we've circled back, yes.
Small piece of anecdotal evidence opposed to actual facts and data. So I think if there's like something small that they're like, oh, what about this? But it's like, hey, that's a very, very small percentage of what the general, the truth is. So I think that people, if they have an agenda, they're going to want to identify with the piece that goes along with their agenda.
If you have anecdotal evidence, that is one thing, but that anecdotal evidence must be backed up. That's why we have the scientific method. That's why we have peer review. That is why we have the constant presentation of evidence. Anecdotal evidence does have its use, but it is severely weakened, in my opinion, without true, hard, irrefutable, concrete evidence.
If all women are so different, why do we have the expression, know how to treat a woman? Wouldn't that imply there's a universal nature that all women exhibit?
It's going to depend on the society and what the society norms are, right? So like cultural relativism, you're not going to use what American women are like and go to India and treat them the same and think you're the best, you know what I mean? So I think it depends on the culture and the society and who the women are, but I mean, a universal truth, it's not good to just punch a woman, so I guess that's a good stereotype to not hit them,
Is there a difference between my truth and the truth?
There's an old saying, when you tell a story, there are three versions of the story. Your story, my story, and the truth. And hence the phrase, the truth usually lies somewhere in the middle. And that's something I usually believe as well. So here's the thing. Your truth could possibly be the same as the truth. However, often with personal biases and whatnot, things might get distorted. It's quite possible. So again, that goes into what I say. If you know something, there could always be the possibility that you are wrong. I try and acknowledge that whenever that I can, but I'm not perfect.
Isn't my truth your subjective perception of the world, and the truth is an objectifiably verifiable description of a situation?
Ideally, that is how it should be. My truth is subjective because, again, it may be subject to my own personal biases. And the truth is objective. It is fact, it is concrete, it is proven, it's there, it's observable, it's provable, and when you need to find evidence for it, it should be very easy to find.
Would you ever take advice from somebody who didn't follow their own advice?
Yes.
What qualifies a person to be able to give good advice?
Nothing. Experience, actually, life experience.
Isn't everyone's experience different?
Yes.
Would you take advice from a personal trainer who was fat or a dentist who had rotten teeth?
No.
So don't you think people should lead by example?
They should, but they don't.
Absolutely, but if you tell me I have a hole right here, then I'm gonna look at that gross and say, you're damn right, and I'm gonna take their advice. If the woman is fat and after going up a flight of stairs that only had 3 steps, you're damn right I'm gonna watch my diet. And then they say hi, and it look like this. No, not like this. Turn the camera in your face like your teeth. If my dentist teeth look like your teeth, you're damn right I'm gonna start brushing and flossing and paying more attention to my oral hygiene schedule.
A lot of times they say, do as I say, not as I do, all right? And we're all guilty of that. The thing is, we make mistakes. A lot of times, for lack of better words, we can be who we are, and we make mistakes. A lot of times, we give advice to other people because we don't want them to make the mistakes that we made. We want them to be better, you know? So, yeah, we might not follow our own advice. Sometimes we get it wrong. Even worse, sometimes we continue to make the same mistakes because we're setting our own patterns. Look, those people might not always be right when they give you the advice. That's true. Like, for example, I give my friends relationship advice out the wazoo, and I haven't been in a relationship for 7 years. This January, it'll be 7 years. I don't want to, no, 6 years, but I don't want to talk about it. Anyway, the thing is, I give that advice because I want people to be better off than me, you know? Parents give the advice they give, even though they might continue to make the same mistakes. They want you to be better than them.
What is the difference between possibility and probability?
Probability would be like something that's more likely to happen. Possibility is
anything can happen.
Anything could happen. Yeah.
Possibility is your own Vegas odds, and probability is what's really the truth, the realness.
When making a big decision, are you more likely to go by what's possible or what's probable?
What is probable? Anything is possible, but if I enter that bank for a loan and look at this monkey face, it's probably likely that I'm not going to get the loan. And also based on my FICO score, but still, there's a lot of things that are possible, but the probability is no, it's not going to happen for you.
What's possible?
Yeah.
You're not going to go by what's more likely to happen?
No, never.
Why is that?
Because the more chances that you take and the more risks that you take, the better the outcomes are.
Yeah, more exciting your life will be.
Exactly.
Why do people prefer to focus on the rare exceptions rather than the general truth?
Because we like to believe that we're special and that we can do it like out of the extraordinary than like the average person.
But if everyone's special, doesn't that mean that nobody's special?
Yeah. I think it's more so it's the people that take the steps to do it. They're not necessarily special, they're just action takers.
I think it goes to the fact that for some, reality may be unfavorable. The predicament you find yourself in is not where you want to be. And speaking from my own experience, the general truth of what things may be, well, it doesn't seem like it's ever going to get any better. But in a good sense, in an ideal sense, you look at the exception because ideally it shows that that is possible, you know, because again, you could be wrong. You could always be wrong. And if that exception happened once, maybe it can happen again for me. Maybe I can get to where I want to get in life. Maybe I don't have to be stuck in the spot I'm in. Maybe things can change from something unfavorable to something better.